Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School, Vienna, and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this, our final session of the season. This is episode 22, which is hard to believe. I can't believe we made it through 22 episodes. They've all been great. But yeah, this is the season finale of our second year. We made it, Nick.
Yeah, in the first full season, right? And pretty cool. Yeah. We thought we'd go out in a bang live. Yeah, some video and some audio later, and got eight guests ready to go. Some are waiting in the wings right now, and some are going to join on the fly. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah, so really happy to have the folks that are joining us. Some previous guests, some familiar faces, but everybody's got different stories about this year. We're going to share and kind of wrap up and conclude as we all get ready to go into our summer holidays. So I'm looking forward to see what everyone has to say and what their plans are for next year going forward, what it's going to bring, what the challenges will be. It's going to be quite different next year, hopefully coming back a little more towards normal, and we'll see what it will entail.
Yeah, and we have a couple questions for everybody, kind of look back questions on the year, and then some specific questions about their episode, kind of a catch up since then, maybe. Yep. So Matt, let's start with those two general questions just for us, okay?
Sure.
So the first one is a positive from this year that you're going to take with you. It can be school related, personal related, anything you want. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the big positive for me on a personal level and a school level, because it's always intertwined when you're working in international school and you have a family that goes to school, of course, and your spouse is working with you at your school. So for me, I think it had to be my son having the chance to graduate from American International School of Budapest, where we work. And the chance to actually have a graduation in person was awesome. I know a lot of schools have been different scenarios last year, this year, with how graduation went, but our school did a fantastic job of pulling it off and putting it together. And it was a really great feeling for all the families of both kids, who were there that day. So I'd say that's the biggest positive. Most recent one, of course, but it was a great way to end our school year for sure. Yeah. Considering how crazy it was with the high school kids being so out of the building for such a long time this year. It was nice to have them come back one more time.
Yeah, cool. And we had an in-person graduation too, and that was great. Great way to end. My positive are one, I think there was lots, thankfully. But a bit personal is to realize that, everyone has something else going on, right? So some days I'll walk in the office and it was, really chipper and this and that, we're going to get to do this. And then, you're met with some kind of droopy faces or people come in a bit grumpy. And so, I know we know that, but everyone has different things in their backpack is kind of one thing that's really ingrained in me now, not tread lightly, really is a tread lightly. So that's my main one. Yeah. Well, what's the other one, Matt, is the hardest part?
Yeah, what's the hardest part of this year for you? I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of folks. It was just the absence of kids in the building and colleagues. And, I was able to go into work myself. I was in the hallway with about two other people in the high school wing of our building. And it was kind of lonely. In some ways it was all right. I got a lot of computer work done or administrative type things, but the hardest part was just not having those interactions, just being out in the hallway and seeing kids and coaches and teachers and colleagues and the maintenance people and everything that makes our school a school. And that was tough this year, not to have those people around. But it's amazing how quickly that goes away, though. It's kind of forgotten, or once you get back into, we're lucky we've been able to be back in school, all of us there for about the last, I think, month now. It's 3 weeks at least. So that's been good. That's been a positive spin on the hard part. How about you, Nick? What was the hardest part for you?
Yeah, for me, it was the back and forth We went through 6 different schedule changes, in-person total lockdown, AB, and sometimes not knowing, on a Friday, what's it's going to be like on Monday. So that was tough. It seems bad, but I was almost envious of schools that were, knew for the whole year they were at home.
Yeah.
Of course, not really. I'm glad to see people when we could, but just the change in and out, back and forth, was really tough to get a handle on, and to be excited about something, because we didn't want to plan too many online events because we were told we're going to go back very soon. But then when you go back, you can't plan in-person events.
Yeah.
So
I know how much you love planning and structure. So I know that was
absolutely just like this. Yeah. And we'll bring in some guests and get going. If you're watching live or on the recording, you saw some messages come up. So Alia says hi and was watching, and Jake in Jakarta. Thanks for tuning in. That's really, really cool.
Right.
And yeah, let's get to some guests, right?
Let's do it.
Fly some people in, and we're gonna go and bring in guests from episode 20. Cassie's gonna come in right now. Fly in. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
See you again.
We're great. Yeah, we're gonna bring in too at the same time, episode 14. Dave Horner. Here he is.
Hey guys. Hey. How's it going?
All great. All right.
Great. Hey, well, we wanted to put you two together because you both talked about student conferences, both ones that you guys organized. So that was a good link. But before we do that, let's go to those overall questions. So, Cassie, what do you think first? What was a positive from this year that you would take with you?
So I'm quite lucky. There has been several positives of the year. I think just being thankful for, working in a school that still supported me with my, given me a job and I've kept hold of my job as well. And still being in a supportive work environment. But very much so, I think having a little bit of brain space and time to reflect and work on some personal projects. Obviously, when we first went into lockdown, there was a lot of time on my own to think and plan, and it's really given me an opportunity to develop the female athlete program. And just we're so busy. Our normal lives, or pre-COVID lives, are so busy, like managing teaching and coaching, and just in general, everything's always go. And so having time to step back and just breathe and think, I think has allowed me to develop and work with people to create something that has been really the positive of the year. Was really the Female Athlete Development Conference that we ran.
Cool. And why you joined us. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the positives, right? Awesome. Dave, what about you?
Just listening to that, I think it's right. We spend so much time being busy, focused on transactional relationships a lot of the time in school because we're so goal oriented and focused. And I think this year has perhaps made us think a little bit differently, talk a little bit more about how people are doing as opposed to what they can do for you, finding out how they are just with their family and their friends. So that whole focus on wellness has been, I think, really interesting for my school year this year. It's not been about, I need you to do this for me. It's been about, how are you doing? And how can I help you to sort of, get through this sort of really tricky time at school?
Yeah. Great. What positives? What about some negatives, or not maybe negative, but the hardest thing for you, Cassie?
Yeah, I think it's the obvious one, not having students in school, and as a PE teacher, that shift to trying to still do your job as well as you want to do it, but online, and that shift in the first 6 months of doing it was that level of uncertainty as well, and apprehension. You're like, okay, we're doing this for a month, are we doing this for 2, or when is it going to end? And I just was listening to what you said, Nick, that when we as a school made the decision, or we were told, okay, you're staying online to the rest of the year, it was disappointing, but at the same time we were like, okay, right now we know what we're doing and we know that we can do this. So that first half was definitely the challenge, and just not knowing what we were doing moving forward. But from that, I think it just shifted our mentality, for me anyway, on what I needed to deliver. So, it isn't going to be the same program as we delivered when we're face to face, but instead the focus is on even more building those relationships with students, but doing it in a slightly different way. And that is actually one of the other highlights of the year. Is I think the relationships that I've made with the students I've worked with this year is far deeper than the kind of relationship that you would have had face to face, because they've seen me, they've seen me doing the night shift, they've seen me at my lowest points. And I think it really encourages you to be vulnerable and open as an educator. And that has therefore made the relationships with my students deeper on a different level. So, yeah.
Yeah, they also seen a window into your home life, right? I mean, I bet tons of people talk, what's all that crap behind you?
Yes, yeah, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Dave? What was the hardest?
Yeah, people are social animals, so having things be virtual is not really part of our nature. So not, those relationships that we've created have been done in forums like this across a computer screen. And so not having kids on campus all the time, or not having kids involved in a program that I'm used to running, or being engaged in certain ways, I mean, it's been really tough for both teachers and for students. I'm sure for parents as well. Having to have students at home, making sure that they're getting to their classes on time through a virtual portal. I have 2 kids here, trying to do your job while you've got 2 kids at home who also need to be in class. That's a tricky thing to try and juggle, because they're having stresses with what they need to get done, and they don't get to see their friends, and then you've got your job to take care of as well at the same time. So I think that's probably been one of the hardest things, is just having that unknown, having relationships across a computer screen, and then having to sort of multitask your way through the year. Yeah, it's been tough.
Well, it's good to hear we have some positives, though, we can fall back on and hear about as we head into the wrap up. But the other reason we have you guys on today is because you were part of some major conferences that took place online for students. And just want to talk a little bit now about getting your impressions about looking back on those conferences, a little bit about the work involved, the impacts you felt it had, and what you were able to take away from that or learn from it. So maybe we'll go to Cassie, because yours was the most recent, the Female Athletic Development Conference, which was awesome. You want to talk a little bit about that, looking back on it now? Or what was the post wrap-up that you guys talked about with the kids?
Oh, for us, once the afternoon had finished, it was just such an empowering experience. It was like a whole panel of women of all ages and from different parts of the world. Obviously, and professions. Some people working in fitness, some people working in schools, like the educators, and obviously the students being involved as well. And it was just, us all coming together and speaking about, a common theme and something that people would have got really excited about. For days afterwards, anytime any of us interact with each other, there was just such a buzz. And that for me was definitely the highlight. Obviously, getting the information out there was fantastic. Having the students deliver it as well was phenomenal. But that excitement afterwards and that feeling of like connective, in a year where that's what we've been missing, is working together and feeling united with people. It just really brought us all together, for sure.
That was great. Very unique conference as well. I'm glad you guys were able to pull it off, and it had such a positive impact. Dave, you were part of the GTAD student-led conference. Your impressions about that. Thanks again for helping out that day back in February. Doesn't seem like yesterday, but it's already like 4 months ago or so that we did that. What was your impressions looking back on that day?
I think when we were in talks about that conference, we all knew it was the right thing to do. We knew that students needed a platform to share their knowledge, and it was great that we were able to come up with a concept, find athletic directors and teacher mentors that were able to work with students and prepare them. You could tell that they were quite nervous. Maybe some of them, it's their first time really presenting to an audience. It was probably nice that it was over a computer screen, because some of them might have been a little bit more nervous had it been actually in person. But it was really impressive to listen to the kids speak about things that they're passionate about, It was really great that we had the interactions that we did online, where students were able to ask questions during the sessions. I just thought the whole thing opens a door now for students to have that platform to really talk about things that they are interested in, and to have that empowerment to have a platform to share with others. So like I said, we knew it was the right thing to do. It's just, how do we get there? And it was really great that we had some teachers and some athletic directors and activity coordinators who were just as interested as we were in listening to students and having them have that platform. And so that was really sort of very eye-opening for me, and that, we need to do more of it, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. They just giving them the trust to do it. And also, I think for me, it was like trusting myself that I delivered the information well enough that they knew it. And it was the point when we came onto the podcast and spoke with you, Nick, and Matt, that I was like, wow, like they have really soaked this information in, and hearing them deliver it themselves and speak so confidently, and they can articulate themselves so well. It was really mind-blowing, and that was just such a nice lead up to the conference, because then I was way more nervous than they were leading up to the conference. They were like, we've got this, like, relax. And after the podcast, I was like, yeah, you do really have it. And yeah, it's just amazing to see them step up and be really proud of themselves afterwards. They were buzzing afterwards, like, and that's the message I try to say to them. It's good that I'm proud of you, but if you're not proud of yourself, then you're not going to be able to take it forward. So they definitely had a sense of achievement afterwards.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a great analogy to just like preparing for an athletic competition or something that's coming up here, sports-wise, right? So these kids were well prepared. They were super focused, and they performed. They did an outstanding job with all these student-led conferences. So that was good to see.
Yeah, and it's just like a start, to open this window, for both of those conferences and the other ones, I'm sure, that are similar, to give the kids a window of what they can do and the world out there. And, you're not just presenting for your teacher or your parents or whatever it is. You're really creating content and putting it out there.
Yeah, and it's important that they're taking the message on, like their voice is the voice that should be heard. Like they're the next ones kind of taking our message forward for us.
Yeah, and it's a comment here from Mike. You guys both talked about being home has been challenging, but we've made deeper relationships with students, right? Even more so in person. And thinking about that beforehand would be, I don't know, unbelievable for me, that being in my basement, I made deeper connections with students than I would in the hall. It's pretty unique. Great. Well, Mike and others are waiting in the wings, which is awesome. So we're gonna move into, I think, section 2 of the episode, and Dave and Cassie, send you on your way to enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you. It's nice to see you both again.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Yep.
Enjoy your
Thanks
summer.
for joining us today, and okay. Talk soon.
Bye.
Okay, just us two for now, Matt, but not for long.
Yeah,
we're moving into. Go ahead, bud.
We say we have Lachlan and Craig coming back in.
Yeah, we're gonna have them join. They were in both in the same episode, so I thought it'd be perfect to have them come up. So we'll bring in Lachlan right now.
Hello.
We hear you.
Can you hear me all right?
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys. I was having some technical difficulties.
You're in and out, but well, it'll be all right, I'm sure. And we'll get Craig in here right now. Craig is enjoying the sunshine somewhere.
Hey guys.
Hey, Craig.
Hey.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks both of you for joining us. Kind of rehash the same episode that you're both on, so that's pretty cool. 4 of us back. Before we do that, tell us where you are, Craig. You're somewhere unique, I think.
Camping. This is the Sunday Sunday cleanup with there's 3 or 4 families from school here together. All the kids are around about the same age, so that leaves the parents with the ability to relax a little bit.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Summer break.
Not yet though. We still got 2 weeks of school.
Okay. Just a weekend trip.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
To burn.
Lachlan, what about you?
I'm still in Kuwait. This is my last day here. Actually, we finished school yesterday, so I'm flying back to Canada tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. But I'm still in Kuwait right now.
Oh wow!
All right.
Good timing. Hotel quarantine in your future? Yeah.
Yeah. The 3-night stay at the hotel quarantine. I got to do that.
Yeah. Bummer. All right. Well, let's jump into you guys tell us a positive. We'll start with that. Craig, why don't you go first? Tell us a main positive for you.
I think listening to what Dave was saying about just taking time to get to know people, and both Lachlan and you in our roles, and getting to know our team and the people that we work with, I think has been a massive positive. And things haven't been as busy maybe as they could have been or would usually be. And so just again, really being able to get to know people, not just in a work sense, but who they are as people, I think has been hugely beneficial.
Great. Deeper. What about you, Lachlan?
So obviously this is my first year as athletic director. So, what Craig said, a huge positive was just kind of getting to know the team, know how the school works. Things weren't quite as busy this year, obviously having no students on campus the whole school year. And then another positive I would say for me, just getting to work on my creativity, trying to offer online athletics and try to run a virtual sports day, which was a big success. And also kind of honing up on my technology skills. So those were two positives for me to get to know the school a little bit better.
Yeah, it's funny. It's all of us so far seem to have made deeper connections and get to know people even more in a virtual setting. Quite unique.
Yep.
All right. What about the hardest part, Craig, for you?
I think, well, obviously the hardest part is not being able to see the program that everyone works so hard run in its entirety, having to be the Grinch all of the time and saying to people, no, you can't, or yeah, you can, but not really. Keep going and practicing. Yeah, you're doing a great job. I think that has been the hardest thing. The will of the kids, the students to participate is 100% there, and they just want to play against other people, not the same people that they're scrimmaging against in practice and things like that. So that I would say has been the hardest piece of this year for us.
Do you think it was harder, like if you didn't get to play at all, or just getting so close to doing a normal thing but not being able to?
Yeah, I think that was definitely almost soul destroying for some of the kids. If there had been nothing at all, like at Lachlan School, then the kids wouldn't have had any expectation, and coaches would have developed a way to work with them. But I think in the back of their minds, there's just always that hope of, this date, the new regulations are coming out. Does that mean we can play? Yeah. Or what about this? Or if we wore gloves, could we play? Just things like that.
Oh, gloves. All right, Lachlan, what about you? What was the hardest part for you? I don't know if you can hear me, Lachlan. We're coming in and out, but I know there's a delay, so I'm worried when to talk because I know he's a bit more of a delay than we are.
We'll see if he comes back in. I guess I have a question, or maybe Craig, you can answer it while we see if Lachlan comes back in. So with the transition of the new job this year,
obviously canceled. Play against huge negative, not being able to offer real seasons or real teams this year.
Well, we got the main point there, but you're in and out, Lachlan, but we see you moving now, which is good. So maybe you're back to stay. That's okay.
All right.
Okay. That's one thing. You never know what your internet's going to be like, right? All day long, super internet, and then you go to do something important and it's gone. You never know. Go ahead, Matt. You go into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, so and sorry, Locke, I didn't get to hear everything you'd said, but I think I got the last gist of it. But at this point now, having been in the job for a full year almost, knowing what you know about your school and your position now, it was all, when we talked to you guys earlier this year, it was about transitioning. So now you've made that transition. You're in your job. You pretty much have a good foothold of what you're supposed to be doing there or how things work. Any changes you're going to make next year, or additions or enhancements for what you know now?
I can go. I think for me, and I know I mentioned this on the original time we met, was that it's really important to respect, I guess, and honor what has gone on previous, what the previous head of athletics and activities had put in place, and what the team had done. And so this year's allowed us to look at that and then potentially look for areas to make some changes. So we're going back to 3 seasons, for example. We are adding a Learn to Swim program. We are adding morning trainings, those kind of things that weren't part of the program, and just to try and relaunch in a new and a different way, have some exciting things, I guess, for the community to be involved in. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to for next year, and I think again, you've got a huge positive that's come out of this year is just simply being able to have time, and not be in meetings all day and then rushing out at 3:00 and there's games here, there, and everywhere. We still run our activities, but there's definitely been more time to look at the program and look at different ways to make change.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry for the tech issues, but yeah, some changes that I would make for next year after getting to know the school a little bit more. Space is a real issue at our school, so I would look to maybe secure some off-site practice locations, and try to get some practice times in the morning and try to make use of the time that we have in the morning as well, just for all our junior varsity, middle school, and varsity teams. And then I'd also like to try to implement more of a development or grassroots program in our elementary school system as well, to kind of build it up and get more participation in our athletics going forward, because from what I understand, it's been lower the last few years. So I want to try and get more students involved. So I think maybe building up that elementary school program a bit more would be something to focus on, and to try and offer more practice sessions in the morning as well as after school.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to use the time, right? We've had to switch our practice schedule because we couldn't use an off-campus location in the fall. So we doubled up and made our practices later. We had everything starting right after school. But yeah, because we couldn't, we switched to the high school being later. And they all really liked it. The coaches, the kids, they had time to do homework together before practice and some things. So we're going to continue that next fall, even though we can use the offsite location. So that's pretty cool. Make use of the time. And
yeah, that's cool.
Right. Well, what about your summer? Last year, you guys were both, kind of a last question, you were both moving to new locations, right? And worrying about setting everything up. How's your summer this year? A bit more relaxed? What are you looking forward to, Greg?
So one of the things that we have added this year is summer camps or holiday camps at ISL. So we've been working really hard. We employed a camp coordinator, Mark Gordon, and he's designed the program. So we're running the first 3 weeks after school, and then after school finishes, and then the first 2 weeks, or the last 2 weeks of the holidays, I guess. So that's something I'm involved in, at least for the first little bit, to make sure they get off the ground, and then hopefully a lot of that.
R&R.
Yeah. But we'll stay in Switzerland. We have some good friends moving from IS Manila, coming to Switzerland. So they're actually here in a few days. So when they get out of hotel quarantine, then meet up with them. More camping.
Well, maybe Cassie just took them to the airport, because she was saying a lot of her colleagues are leaving, and she's been making some airport trips. Cool.
Yeah.
Lachlan, what about you? I know you're going back to Canada tomorrow morning. You there for the whole summer? Or?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be there for most of the summer, coming back to Kuwait in August. And then at our school, we're actually kind of refurbishing our outdoor facilities. We're getting a new court put in, new lines drawn. We're going to update the basketball hoop.
Lost you again, but we had a comment
like
there.
That, so...
We're in and out, but we see on the screen here a comment from Mike or Todd in Oman, who we all know is starting an ES program as well. So Lachlan, if you're looking for some help with the ES extension, Todd may be your guy. And he just dropped out, but so thank you, Lachlan, obviously, for joining. Don't worry about the tech issues. Definitely happens to all of us. Appreciate it. And Craig, you too. Thanks for joining from your weekend retreat. It's great to have you back.
No worries, and thanks guys for all you do for the AD community. It's awesome.
Have fun enjoying Switzerland.
All right, cheers, guys. Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
Happy camp.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
All right, Matt, just the two of us for now. We'll do a bit of an ad break, right, while we wait for the next couple of people to come in. Dave and Andy should be here any second, but we're going to do a bit of a different ad break, I would say, than our norm. For those watching, I'm going to share my screen and go ahead, Matt. We'll get Kukri up there first.
Yeah, so we're lucky to partner with Kukri. Here in Europe, we have a great sales rep in Marcus from Kukri, Marcus Bradbury. And so they've been fantastic with the service. The customer service is great. The quality of the materials and the uniforms are great. And can't really beat the prices for the most part. They're pretty decent prices that they offer for the international school community. I know there's a lot of schools in Europe that are using the Kukri stuff, and just happy to have them on board with us for helping us out with the podcast and just being a part of our little community here. And so we got some more Kukri gear coming soon. I'm about to put an order in for our new PE teachers that are arriving in August, and get a couple extra backup jackets and some other things. So good stuff. Check them out, Kukri.
Yeah. See the website there for those on the audio, kukrisports.co.uk. Yeah, definitely bespoke. And to our other sponsor, Coach Evaluator, also been with us since the beginning. Great product, Al. Really great back and forth. Despite obviously the time zone being in the US, you always get answers right back, and I really like it. Really, a lot of us use Google Forms. It's just 100 times better to organize an email and really work with your coaches back and forth on evaluations and all sorts of things. So also they can help you build your evaluation reports, right? They help you use whatever you want to use. So I used my existing one and then tweaked it a little bit, and they put it right in their system. And I've been using it for almost 2 years. So coachevaluator.com. All right. Well, let's see, Matt.
That's on my list of things to do for next year. We were talking about plans for next year. That's one of mine. Finally come around. Now I can use it, hopefully, when I have a season.
Exactly. Well, hey, we have two guys waiting in the wings that aren't actually on the schedule for next, but I think I know they'll be ready to go. So let's jump to Mike Deneve coming in right now.
Hey guys.
All right. Hey, Mike.
And, always be ready. That's the key.
Always ready. Always ready. And Matt Lautenbach, who also looks ready. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you guys?
Matt.
Yeah, we're great. We're great. Hey, you guys are both joining us from across the pond. So even bigger thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Mike, you start. Tell us where you are, please.
I recognize Matt's dark house. I know what time zone he's into. I can tell. Northern Canada, Saskatchewan. Did you ask where I was? Is that what you said? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
Mixed me up with the other docs. 2:40 in the morning here. Of course, happy to be talking to you guys.
Yeah, great.
And
Great. Matt, what about you?
I'm 5 hours later. I'm at about 4:40. So,
wow.
East Coast of the U.S.
East Coast. All right. Great. Yeah, you guys. Well, I know, Mike, you're not on summer holiday yet, but Matt, you are, right?
Yeah, we just got on. We've been back in the U.S. about a week after a lot of hours of travel from Laos.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, soon for us. One more week. Well, let's start with our general questions for everybody. Mike, what was a positive from this year that you're gonna take with you?
I think we may have talked about this like when we had our session, but the connection amongst our community this year, starting with your guys' conference way back in the spring. Yeah. Like that basically kicked it off, to be honest, guys, like for me anyway. And it really kind of encapsulated what we needed to do as athletic directors. I mentioned this before, usually in a normal year, we're in our foxhole, just basically lobbing grenades and trying to get everything done all on our own with our own little thing. And we knew we had support out there, but we didn't really access it as much as we did this year. From things like professional development, like you guys, and even like within my conference, we started doing once the pandemic hit hard, just like bi-weekly check-ins, just to make sure we were all okay. Because we were the only people who understood what we were losing and what we were, the issues that were out there. So those strengthened connections, I think, were the main positive I would take away from this year.
Great. That's some great ones.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well. I think that's been a great part of it. And yeah, starting from your conference and just looking for new ways to do things. I think that's going to be one of the great learnings of this. It's going to allow each of us to kind of examine our programs, examine what we do, and kind of question why that is, and look for new opportunities that without this kind of pause in the normal, we probably wouldn't have taken.
Yeah, great. Some great ones. Great. I know we're starting some new things next year that definitely we wouldn't have done if we had a normal year, that are going to be great additions. So yeah, it's great. Really great. But flip side, what about the hardest? Can be personally, professionally. What about you, Mike?
I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but my wife's a counselor as well at the school. And one thing we hit on early with both of our jobs, and many people in our school, especially in leadership, but there's a term for it, but I don't know. I'm not going to think of it offhand, but it's people who are helping other people deal with trauma and doing it for extended periods of time is an acute level of stress that is really basically unheard of unless you're in like ER wards and things like that all the time. So having that level of trying to manage one of the scariest periods of history that we've had in a long time, doing it in a city like Dhaka, Bangladesh, and trying to help other people. You spend all your energy trying to help other people deal with that trauma, and you're never as the ones dealing with your own sense of that. So that was kind of probably the hardest real piece that we had to deal with.
Yeah. Depending on the country, the city, the school, so many different situations, right?
Yeah, probably especially for the new folks, right? Like,
we feel so bad about, like we tried our best. Everybody did their best but in Dhaka, we never came back to school.
Yeah.
And so
the community.
There were single people in apartments that for large swaths of the year, like didn't see another human being in a brand new country. And like, it's just mind boggling.
Crazy. What about you, Matt? What was the hardest?
I mean, comparatively, I think this is fairly minor, but for us, at least professionally, I think the hardest part of the year is that in Laos, we had kept it under control for so long and we were so close to normal, but yet it wasn't normal at all. And, we we were back in school from August, and we lasted until April when we had another outbreak in the country. But we were able to be normal in so many ways, but yet it wasn't normal when you looked out on the rest of the world, certainly, but even outside of our doorstep. And we weren't able to have that normal year despite it feeling really close to being able to be there.
Yeah, just not exactly right. And
yeah,
we're almost back. We're almost back to normal now. We had a bit of an event Friday after school, and at the beginning, everyone was just like weird. Like, what do I do? How close do I get to you? Can we do this right now? And then, half an hour later, it kind of felt more normal, and we went with it. But yeah,
that's been a nice positive too. Like lately, for us and probably for Nick as well, coming back to sort of normal school circumstances, you get these little moments where you stop to yourself like, this feels normal. This is feeling normal again. This is a positive step. So I'm looking forward for you guys to have that opportunity as well. These small chances that pop up throughout the day where you just kind of step back and say, you feel thankful that you're able to be back into that scenario, even though still everybody's in a mask in the school, but it's all good.
We'll make you appreciate the things we used to probably hate about our job when we can actually do them again.
Talking to parents, I don't know.
Another episode about that. All right, so let's circle back to some positive stuff again. Obviously, you guys were part of some positive things in your school programs, and Matt, we'll start with you because you also, like us, had organized a conference online for folks. It was geared towards aquatics people in schools, international schools. So maybe some reflections about that conference, how it went, and the feedback you received from the participants.
Yeah, so like Mike was saying about the connections that are possible, I think that's really been amazing to see. About 4 weeks ago, we hosted an aquatics conference, and we had 9 presenters from around the world. We had Johannesburg represented, Oman, Singapore, Vientiane, Beijing. So a little bit stronger Asian focus, where the aquatics programs are a huge part of the school. Not that they aren't in other places, but it was just a chance for people to come together and learn and connect over our shared experience. And it was not pandemic focused at all. I don't really know. I can't remember a talk that really focused on what that was. It was about looking forward. It was about learning from each other and kind of setting the stage for what our programs can grow into being when we do get back to whatever the new normal is. So it was great to come together as an aquatics community and just have a Friday afternoon to talk to each other. And just like when we get together in person for conferences, it was that in-between time that was almost as powerful as the presentations. It was that 5 minutes in between one talk and the next where people made those connections online and were able to chat with others. And again, without a pandemic focus, it was great to kind of look forward at what we are going to be able to do when we can get all our kids back into the water worldwide.
Yeah, cool. Very good. That's great that you did that to bring that and grow that community and put up on the screen. But internationalschoolaquatics.com is the website for, well, hopefully if we all get in the pool, we can all send our results in, Matt, and have a real, world champion next year, right?
Absolutely. Looking forward to getting those rankings back going. And we'll have an update here in the next week or so. Nick Wilson from International School of Beijing and I ran a global all-stars meet. So we do have some rankings coming that in past years, we've strongly focused on the high school athletes, but this year, because of the pandemic, we had the opportunity to look a little bit more whole program. So we're going to have some rankings coming out that come out of that meet.
Cool. Wow, awesome. Wow, that's great. Great. Well, what about you, Mike? You, I know you did a lot of wellness, personal competitions, I would say, but I think you focused a lot of wellness for your students and athletes. Tell us a bit about your programs throughout this year.
Yeah, so we, as I mentioned, we were virtual for so long. The goal was just to try and keep people healthy, alive, somewhat standing up during the day. So yeah, we ran challenges, virtual challenges, the skill-based competitions. I think the nice thing about wellness is it evolved over the year. It evolved into more of that kind of one-off competitions type stuff to what Dave was talking about, more about really getting to know people and really getting to interact and really understand them a lot better. And so a lot of my so because we weren't on the pitch or on the field, I had a lot of leadership classes with kids, and those really pushed into the wellness forum. It was all about check-ins, about teaching them how to have gratitude in difficult situations, about looking out for others, looking out for the teammates that they're not on the court with anymore, but still engaging them and making sure that they were doing okay. So that kind of stuff got pushed into their world, and they really did a good job with it. They did a good job looking out with each other. I learned a lot in conversations with them about what was important to them and what wasn't. Things we think that are important sometimes aren't those main things. It was just the connections is what they needed. So I think doing that this year really set the stage for moving forward. You talk about one of those things you're going to keep going, right? I think this new focus on wellness around the world, it's so tied into the pandemic, and maintaining your wellness through it, being well, healthy, and to survive it, that kind of stuff is really going to be something that carries on. And what I'm going to be looking at is, especially amongst our group, the ADs, I think a lot of us really got to do it was frustrating, but at the same time, we had more downtime. We had time to reflect. We had time for some personal growth, those kind of things. How are we going to keep that going when our jobs become 24/7 again? Have we learned to really internalize our self-care, but still be able to run that program we want to run that reaches everybody and does everything it can for all people? That's going to be a balancing act that I think we have to help each other with next year.
That's great stuff. I think the NIAAA has a course, or they've had workshops about that as well. So that maybe that's something you can partner in with, but I'm sure there's folks out there who'd love to be a part of that initiative that you put forward. And I know I'll be happy to work on that with you as well as needed with the wellness aspect, because it's huge, especially as we transition back into the regular programs.
Right. What's just the last question? You guys are both from, I don't know, at least for me, unique locations. Not just right now, but I mean in your schools. What's it looking like after the summer? Any talk of maybe being in person, or too early to tell?
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to get back in person in August. That's kind of what we're planning for. We're down to single digits of cases in the country, but given the limited resources of the country, even single digits is potentially traumatic for the country. So they've erred on the side of caution. But as we were leaving about a week ago, it was starting to kind of, some neighborhoods were opening back up. Restaurants were able to be back in person after, again, being most of the year there. And we've been really fortunate for that. So we're hopeful that we'll be back in person in August.
Great.
Yeah, we're making a big push as well. We've learned a lot this year. We probably stayed virtual through a period. We could have come back, but there was the government threw a lot of roadblocks in the way. And so it was just the safer bet to not push them on it. The big thing was when we vaccinated our entire staff. That's going to make a huge push our change moving forward. And we're really trying to get, we think we will have a large stock of rapid antigen tests that we can employ to make sure that to help support safe back face-to-face. So my planning right now is face-to-face. I'm basically, I'll adapt if we can't be, but I want to plan on the most positive side and work that way backwards.
Great. Yeah, well, hopefully it's a good summer for all of us, all around, right? That we can start fresh. Well, okay. Well, Matt and Mike, I don't know if you're going to go to bed or stay up. But really, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, despite where you are. So thanks.
No, absolutely. Thanks for keep bringing us together as a community. This is great.
I do have one complaint, Nick. Quick one.
Uh-oh.
How are you ending now? What am I going to listen to on my kayak this summer?
Well, there's some great episodes, so you can go back and listen to.
I'm gonna have to, like you guys. That's how I kayaked all summer. That kept me out on the creek.
We might have some
favorite album.
Some special events.
Go back and put it on.
All right. Well, I'll enjoy some kayak, and you can watch Global Take, Mike. We'll have a couple of Global Takes in the summer. So.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, guys.
All right.
Take care.
We got one more guy coming, so thanks, and talk soon. All right, Matt, I don't know if you saw who jumped in here, but we have one more guest in the wings.
All right.
That will fly in right now. And there he is, Andy. Hey.
Good morning, guys. Not strangers to me at all. It's good to see you.
Great to have you
on. A good way to end the show. It wasn't planned this way, Andy, but
yeah, I know. I got a little bit sidetracked, Nick, and I do appreciate your reminder. It's not wearing my Apple Watch is the problem.
Right. Hey, that's been the theme of the year. Blame it on the tech.
Yeah.
But really, when we have a couple of these general questions first that you're going to have to answer, but the changing role was the episode you were on, and that's actually probably a good way to end this. It looks to the future, but let's go to the general ones first. So what was a positive for you this year that you'll take with you going forward?
Yeah, and because I was totally distracted this morning, I haven't really thought about an answer. So it's good that you get the spontaneous answer, I think.
Yeah.
What was good? Honestly, I do think that there are some things we're going to take away from this pandemic, and these are fairly glib answers, but making use of time that you have to yourself, or reflecting, or finding a walk in the woods, or a good book, or finding those pause moments. Funnily enough, one of the student speakers at our graduation, his theme was, and he based it around music, and his theme was the pauses in music are what makes music beautiful. And it's important. I think we were all, me especially, was completely wrapped up in the pace of life and the speed of life, and not stopping and not taking a breath and not looking around. And I think that's for me personally, that's going to be a big positive, that I'm taking a little bit more time to look around and enjoy the day and enjoy those experiences. And the second one would be just this use of technology, that we can actually adapt sometimes and get people together in kind of a situation. Maybe in the past we hadn't. I used to poo-poo it a lot, but I do think there's a lot of value in this kind of thing. That would be it, I think.
Those are pretty good ones. They were pretty good ones. So switch it then to the hardest part for you. Personally, professionally, anywhere, anyway.
I think probably that me, Nick, and Matt, the personal and professional are pretty much intertwined, which is like for most of us. Honestly, I think I hate starting things and it doesn't work. I'm a true believer in faulty starts are really bad. Yeah. So when we host a tournament or we have a trip, we put a lot of work into the build up to it, or the preparation for it, so that every eventuality is taken care of. Yeah. But the energy that goes into that preparation should only have to happen once when you're hosting a tournament or you're making a trip. For that trip, you do one preparation. For that tournament, you do one preparation. In depth though it might be, well, this darn pandemic, every other day was a different start because the flow charts changed, or the restrictions changed, or a case came up, so I think we quickly learned that this scenario planning couldn't be done in the normal way. So the fear of faulty starts in my head became much higher. So that was the hardest part for me, was just making myself back down a little bit from being perfectly prepared for every start.
Yeah, and recognizing how much energy do you want to put into something if you're not really 100% sure it's going to fall through. Right?
It's impossible, yeah.
You want to do it.
Yeah.
Or plan too hard into it like we normally would, because there's so many little things, as we know, that go into making these trips, these tournaments, these events a success, and you have to put all that 100% energy into every little step, however big or how small. So that's been a big part for me too. Like, do I want to go down that road right now, knowing that it's probably not going to work out? Depending.
Absolutely, and I think Matt, it's exactly the same for every employee in schools and probably their professions. But Cindy, my wife, is a math teacher, and just watching her prepare for classes, she would prepare for a certain class, but then it can't be delivered in the way that she prepared for. So it was redesigned, and I'm sure it was a frustration for just about everybody that was working in a school.
Yeah. Okay. So when we had you back earlier this year, we talked about changing roles in the school and how that changed, how your roles changed, and how you've been able to adapt to that and your positions. So looking for next year, what do you think it will be like to manage all the new things from this year, COVID management, other initiatives, while getting back to normal activities?
Yeah, it's probably the thing that's keeping me awake at night right now, Matt, to be honest. We had a senior leadership team meeting, and I brought up sustainability. My fear is that as we start kicking into preparations for what we hope is a normal fall season, we're still dealing with all the pandemic stuff. We're still dealing with antigen testing for probably 300 kids when we come back, or possibly the full 800 3 times a week. That's, we're averaging almost 3,000 tests a week at the school right now that my team, Nick, myself, and 3 other people administer, both delivering and actually sticking swabs up little kids' noses. If we do that, if we have to continue doing that, and I think in some shape or form, COVID-19 will continue to be in our lives, and I think we're going to see things like mask wearing drop off, and I think we're going to see distancing perhaps drop off. But screening and testing, especially for people who are not vaccinating, I think will be with us for a little while. So if my role or my team's role doesn't diminish in this area, I'm not sure we can deliver the kind of athletics, activities, and events support that we need to do for the kind of school we're in. So that's my fear. And I think, again, it's not just us. I think it would be administrative assistants who are antigen testing kids that come late, or making sure that there's a supply of masks under their desk. It's not just us. It's probably teachers with technology. How is it going to work for them? How are they going to, when kids are sick, do they hybrid learn, or do they just get treated like a normal sickness? It's a fear, but the word sustainability is what I would bring back. We need to sustain a level of curriculum development, and by curriculum I include athletics and drama and art and trips and retreats and all those things. How can we sustain them with all the safeguarding and all the risk assessment and risk analysis? How are we going to do that? And at the end of the day, unfortunately, what it always comes down to is it's going to come down to dollars and cents. It's going to come down to what our school's willing to budget to deliver these programs. And I think we're fortunate to be in the kind of school system where resources are usually quite rich and quite healthy. So hopefully we're going to see, because I think also what has played into our hands a little bit is this pandemic has proven the value of all those programs I just mentioned, that life and human beings have to have social interaction, competitive sport, enjoyment, exercise, art expression, music expression, going to celebrate those things in a group. Graduation, it was the first social event I'd been to in almost 2 years. And it was a real internal healthy feeling. And I think that's what probably we need to bear in mind when we're thinking about the dollars and cents question. Long answer. You know me, I like
you guys enjoy that as a parent and as an employee, right?
100%. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
It's good to get rid of the
With, an uncertain summer, what's it going to bring? We asked those guys who no one really knows, right? After the summer of as you mentioned, what and all we're going to be doing and managing it.
No, I don't, Nick. And I think, when we all look at the science part of it, the variants that are coming across, this Delta variant in England right now, they seem to be, each time they come, they seem to be a little bit stronger, more contagious, more vaccine resistant. So who knows? I think it's going to be a challenge, but hey, we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Andy. Well, thanks for jumping in. As our look back and look to the future kind of collided right there. So appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thanks for the reminder, Nick. Matt, it's good to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Yeah. Hopefully,
okay, guys. Yeah, it'll be good. See ya.
Bye. Well, Matt, we got through 7 guests in and out. Awesome. Some awesome takeaways.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really good.
I want to mention
before we sign off or whatever today, we had, this is episode 22 right now. So we had people from 7 episodes. But as Mike mentioned, what are you going to do in the kayak? You can go back and listen to some other episodes you didn't hear. So aside from these great people, we joined with the off-duty ADs and Beyond the Bench. That was episode 3. We had Bruce Whitehead from the NIAAA. That was episode 4. Dan Schuster, NFHS, was number 5. We had some great athletes. Kieran Powell was episode 8, and Farida Osmond, who we'll enjoy watching in the Olympics coming up pretty soon. She was on episode 16. Joe Ito joined us from across the pond out there in Seattle. Kathy Tangaong from the Philippines. Wallace Ting from Orlando joined us. That was recent, episode 19. Another combo, Zach and Tommy from the Winning Way podcast. That was 17. And of course, Dave Hughes, who we unfortunately couldn't have with us today. He's refereeing a women's soccer game right now. He was on 2. He was our only double, so he could have been a triple threat. But we had him starting the year with us. And then we had obviously the climate change one not too long ago. Yeah. And our ex-student, Anna Chanduvi, was the episode just before this one, episode 21. So a great year, right, Matt?
Absolutely. I mean, just listening to that list and looking at it, of course, on my script, we've covered a lot of bases. We've covered, we've talked to people all over the world. That's part of our mission, right? We want to make these connections. I think we did a good job of that. So we can tick that from our checklist. But the stories are always great. They're always fun to listen to other people and learn new things. And I think looking at the list, I really enjoyed the connections with former students. I think that might be the highlight for me this year. Kids who are international school athletes and students who've moved on, and like with Farida, who's still training and still heading for the Olympics, of course, at a very high level. To hear their stories about the impact their coaches, their teachers had with them and their time, and how they still carry it forward with them. And they're pretty far along in life, and they've done some pretty good things. So I think that was the highlight for me looking back on this year, other than the other fantastic conversations we've had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has seemed a bit like a chore, I would say. We went podcast-wise every 2 weeks, with a bit of a deadline, but I think it helped us stay focused, and we'll look to do that next year again, right, Matt?
For sure.
Season 3.
Looking forward to a break, putting things on the shelf for a minute. But yeah, I think we need that, though, to kind of recharge our batteries this summer and make some reconnections with family. And I know you're going to head back home, hopefully, and do that too. So have a great trip. And all the folks that joined us, same. Take that time. That was another theme of our episode today, taking those times, those timeouts to reflect and take time for yourself. So I hope everybody does that and makes those connections and comes back refreshed and renewed with new energy for the next school year.
I can't add anything else to that, Matt. Fantastic.
Let's do it.
See ya.
All right,
Thanks
buddy. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today on the Globetrottin ADs.
Don't forget, you can find more about the Globetrottin ADs on our Facebook page or website, globetrottinads.com. That's globetrottinads.com.